I think everyone generally wants to be healthier and live a life that supports humanity at large. I do feel that most people have a sense of inferiority or that they're missing out in their life that comes from comparing themselves to others. You can scroll through social media and see people having more fun, who have more money, have a better body, get more attention, and are living a better life than you. Are they actually living a better life? And if so, how do I live a better life with the time that I have? I've spent 20 years trying to coach people to have a better mindset, to be more positive, to breathe better, to hydrate their body, to nourish their body, to move and to recover in a better way. I know we can all improve, but it's overwhelmingly challenging to figure out what the best use of the time we have is. Use the external motivation to prove that you can change. Do something you enjoy every day. Take small, consistent steps towards a better life. And most of all, enjoy the process. For most of us, it's easy to overindulge in eating things that sabotage your desire to be healthy. Snacking and eating throughout the day can keep your energy levels up, but you're also constantly stimulating your appetite to eat more and putting yourself into storage mode. The excess secretion of insulin is driving the 4 big killers of our time: cardiovascular disease, cancer, diabetes, and dementia. Eating 1 to 3 good meals per day is all you need. If you have unwanted body fat, you need to learn how to use it for fuel, not store more. Snacking is just a waste of time. Keeping to a compressed feeding window of 6 to 8 hours with a 16 to 18 hour fast is a very simple way to reduce excessive digestive hormonal responses that store fuel and age the body. This gives the digestive system a rest, and it allows for better use of fat for fuel. If you're snacking on sugar, you're going to find it's very hard, so it's important to start eating more healthy nose to tail ruminant animal meat, connective tissue, and fat. This way you'll stop the blood sugar highs and lows, and it'll stop you from craving more sugar. Eating ruminant animals nose to tail is highly satiating. 1 meal per day is effective for some at losing excess body fat, although I've seen much better results with those who stick to a 6 to 8 hour feeding window and do 1 meal a day, maybe 1 time per week. I personally do a 2 to 3 day fast every 3 months. I can't see the benefits of doing longer fasts than 1 to 3 days more than every 3 months. A lot of people claim to have significant benefits from fasts that go longer than 3 days, but personally right now, I think there's more benefit in getting a better 24-hour rhythm every day rather than the more aggressive fasting interventions. I also highly recommend not eating for at least 3 hours before you go to sleep. Your sleep is the time to recover. Every day, you need to maximize its benefits. Ketogenic nutrition is nothing new. Being in a state of ketosis is really the predominant state the body evolved in. The constant eating of food provided by the industrial agricultural system drives disease. The bulk of what people eat on the planet is plant-based and in the form of carbohydrates and processed vegetable oils. The elimination of snacks, carbohydrate-rich food, and sweetened low-carb foods is the best way to get over sugar. If you're having those sweetened fake carb foods, then it's only going to make it harder because you keep stimulating your body to have sweet things. Somehow, large agricultural and food processing companies manage to convince us that animal fat is bad and vegetable oils are good. This is a complete lie. The majority of animal fat is thrown away. Whether it's butchers trimming it off or consumers trimming it, throwing it away, or washing it down the sink. Just imagine a world where not 1 gram of animal fat was wasted and it was all valued and consumed. This is such a simple solution for the problems that we have. Fossil fuel has powered the evolution of modern technology, but we can't eat it. Ruminant fat is the most amazing thing, but it's totally undervalued. It is the sunlight energy converted into grass and converted by bacteria into fat, which fuels mammalian life. We have an environmental catastrophe from the overuse of fossil fuel. Just look at the embodied energy of everything around you. It is all fossil fuel. Then look at all the inputs that keeps this all going. Every bit of data we're moving through the internet is driven by fossil fuel. You might be saying, no, I have solar panels on my roof. I'm not using fossil fuel. How were the solar panels that you're using manufactured? And look at every stage, all the research and development that it took to make them, the mining, the manufacturing, the transporting, the marketing, the selling, the installing, all built on fossil fuel. We have to look at what it actually took to get it to the point where it's actually going to break even and repay its debt. I'm all for research and development, but when something is branded, marketed, and sold as a product that is supposed to be sustainable and green, we need to show the world how long it will actually take to break even. So just because Teslas use electricity does not mean that in any way the mass production is going to heal the environmental issues we have. Elon is just capitalizing on the consumerism and the people's desire to have a flashy new car and tell the world they're saving the environment. If you want to make a difference in the world, work from home, stop driving, get public transport. Most people think that eating animal fat is disconnected from the problems with our environment and our industrialized food system, but it's such a simple solution if you just look at how it all works together and really think about it. If we can eat animal fat and stop eating processed seed and vegetable oils and stop eating industrialized food, we can turn this whole thing around. Carbohydrate is something that stimulates your body to keep eating. Now, there's a good reason for that because it's wired into survival. So if you couldn't get enough meat or fat, then you had to resort to eating carbohydrate. And if you're eating carbohydrate, it means that you have to finish everything you've found and eat it, because in the past we weren't able to store it. So you want to keep eating and stimulate the body to store fat. Unfortunately and fortunately, we have access to food all year round, but people now are constantly stimulating the storage of body fat through the overconsumption of carbohydrate. So it is a simple logical fix, is to reduce carbohydrate consumption, but it's not that easy. So you have to really get conscious about what you're doing and what you're putting in your mouth and make the transition into consuming less of it. Definitely having it as a treat, but you need to see it as a treat instead of a way of eating on a day-to-day basis. So stripping back to just ruminant animals as a starting point, as an elimination diet, is a great way to find what works for you. I want to find answers through experimenting and experiencing. I find for me the best way to learn is to research what other people are sharing and look at it and think, okay, how can this improve my life? And if it makes sense, give it a go and learn from it. The single animal carnivore approach that I'm using with either lamb or beef has provided me with an awesome platform for me to be able to experiment. So now I can go forward, and each time I make an intervention, I'm going to know what it's doing because I'm eating the same way every day, and then I'm also training the same way and living a fairly similar lifestyle all year round. Whenever I add one thing, whatever it is, I'm going to feel what it's doing. Personally, I believe that a practical diet and one that's satiating and enjoyable for people would be one of ruminant animals with local seasonal fruit and vegetables. I think that is more than doable to feed the 8 billion people on the planet, as well as heal our environment. I think we really need to reconsider the way in which we're growing crops and utilizing those for human consumption, and all of the unnecessary energy that's spent doing that. I think that's something that we really need to overhaul and see differently. All plants need nutrition to grow. Now, they get a certain amount of nutrition from the atmosphere, but the majority of it's got to come through the soil. So if you don't have life in a soil, then you're going to need chemical fertilizers, or you can add animal manure or dead animals to fertilize. Now, most of the land's surface is suited to growing grass, not crops. And we need to stop cutting down a rainforest for sure. We don't need to keep doing that. It's crazy, and we don't need to do that to grow crop. What we do need to look at is the land that we do have. How can we get the most yield from it? Now, if we have to keep using fossil fuels to grow crops on land that's not suited to it, we're wasting energy. If we can use the land to grow grass and use that grass to grow ruminant animals and then eat those ruminant animals, that's a very efficient and effective way to harvest sunlight, to heal the soil, to heal the atmosphere and the environment, and to nourish the world. The treatment of animals is something that I'm very passionate about. I think all life on the earth needs to have a good time while we're here and reach full maturity. And I feel that the way in which we manage herbivores is something that is vitally important for not just the moral and the ethical component, but also for the environmental and the nutritional component of producing good food. An animal that is happier and is living a good life is obviously going to be healthier for humans to consume. So doing that is a major part in making more nutritious food, as well as making sure that the animal reaches a weight that is productive. So usually you're going to get through puberty and have the largest phase of growth, and then after that then you're going to get a diminishing return on the amount that an animal eats. So there has to be a point in which you intervene and make use of the animal, and we have to be practical about that and look at that as the best way to consume animals, because if you're going to keep feeding them longer and you're not gaining weight and you're not making more food, then it doesn't become as viable. I think small local abattoirs as well as mobile abattoirs are the way to go forward for animal processing. It's crazy to transport them over long distances when we could change the way in which we process them and make it more viable for the animals to be walked to the area, or to have the trucks go to the animals rather than transporting them and stressing them out over traveling long distances. So I get half a body of beef or 2 whole bodies of lamb. I break it down, put it into stainless steel containers, 2 to 4 kilos each, and I defrost them as I need them. When I defrost them, the first day I'll have raw meat, then I'll have seared meat the next day, then any of the tougher cuts I'll slow cook, and the bones I keep, and any excess fat that I feel that it's too much for me, I will keep that and store that for the leaner cuts of meat. The organ meats I have raw, so I leave them frozen and just cut them off as I need them. I spread them out over the whole time that I'm consuming the body that I have, and that way I find that I'm getting that dispersed nutrient density that the organ meats offer. I usually have around 50 to 100 grams a day of organ meats. Now I find that they are too good to waste, so I'm not going to overcook them. I always just have them just carpaccio style raw, or I lightly sear them in the pan after I've turned the heat off. After I make bone broth, I'll save all the bones. Now I make sure I consume all the marrow, all of the connective tissue, and that the bones have had the nourishment taken out of it from making broth. Then the bare bones I take back to the land on my next farm visit. In the future, I'd integrate local seasonal vegetables, herbs, and berries. I think they would be a great accompaniment to what I'm having, but I still feel that the bulk of what I would eat would be animal meat and fat, organ meats, the connective tissue, all of those things. I currently visit a permaculture garden once a week. I grow some veggies on the balcony with my son and some herbs, and we take all of our food scraps to the permaculture garden and compost them there. I think it's a great thing that everybody could do. I think that it's so underutilized, the locally grown veggies, backyard veggies, garden veggies, all of these things could be done much better and provide more food for people. We shop at the supermarket as well as a health food shop. There is a bit of a challenge there in terms of what we're purchasing and what it's actually doing for our health and what it's doing for the environment. I think there's a big illusion and marketing ploy that's played on people when they believe they're doing something better by purchasing there. But when you're buying stuff in plastic, it's still in plastic. When it's shipped all over the world, it's still shipped all over the world. So you really have to question all those things. If we're going to nourish 8+ billion people on the planet, we can't just feed them processed, packaged garbage grown with fossil fuels. We know that there's a finite amount of fossil fuels, and we have to start working in real-time sunlight if we want to solve this issue and if we want to heal our environment. Too many people are lying, especially in the health and the environmental world. I think anyone that is making money from a specific way of life, they need to show it, not just tell it. So I'm willing to show what I'm doing, and I accept that there's flaws in it, but I think way too many people are profiting from selling supplements or selling ideas or selling products that are supposedly environmentally friendly, supposed to make you healthier, fitter, stronger, all of these things, and it's a lie. And they need to be called out if we're going to get the world healthy and if we're going to make the planet healthier for us.